The classroom buzzed with the soft rustle of papers and the faint sound of pencils scratching against notebooks. I sat at my desk, glancing up occasionally at Mr. Thompson, my literature teacher. He was passionate about the subject, and his enthusiasm was contagious. I had always admired him, not just for his knowledge, but for the way he made literature come alive. As the weeks went by, I found myself increasingly drawn to him. It was confusing. I knew he was my teacher, but there was an undeniable chemistry that simmered beneath the surface. I tried to push those feelings away, reminding myself of the boundaries that existed between us, but the more I resisted, the stronger the pull became. One afternoon, after class had ended, I approached him with a question about an upcoming assignment. As we discussed my ideas, I noticed the way his eyes lit up when I spoke about my passion for writing. There was something about our connection that felt special, and I could sense that he felt it too. "Can I show you something I've been working on?" I asked, my heart racing with excitement. He nodded, curious to see my work. I pulled out my notebook filled with poetry, and as I read aloud, I watched his expression change. He was captivated by my words, and I felt a rush of pride. We talked, the conversation flowed effortlessly. We shared our favorite authors, our dreams, and our fears. The more we opened up to each other, the more I realized how much I admired him, not just as a teacher, but as a person. Days turned into weeks, and our conversations became more frequent. I looked forward to our discussions, the thrill of our connection growing stronger. One afternoon, as we sat in his classroom after school, the atmosphere shifted. The air was thick with unspoken tension, and I could feel my heart racing. "MIA, I need to be honest with you," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil in his eyes. "I care about your education, and I want to support you, but I also need to maintain professional boundaries." I felt a pang of disappointment, but I understood. "I know," I replied softly, "but I can't help how I feel. You inspire me in ways I can't explain." My words hung in the air, and I could see the conflict in his expression. In that moment, I realized we were crossing a line that could never be uncrossed. I took a deep breath, trying to regain my composure. "Mr. Thompson, this is complicated. We need to be careful," I said, my heart heavy with the weight of our situation. But the connection between us was undeniable. As the days passed, we found ourselves drawn to each other, the tension building with each stolen glance and whispered conversation. I knew we were playing with fire, but the thrill of our connection was intoxicating. One evening, after a particularly intense discussion about a novel we were studying, I lingered in the classroom. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow through the windows. "Can I stay a little longer?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, and I felt the air shift around us. As we talked, the conversation turned more personal. We shared our dreams and aspirations, and I felt a sense of vulnerability that I hadn't experienced before. The moment felt charged, and before I knew it, I leaned in closer, my heart pounding. In a moment of courage, I leaned in, and our lips met in a soft, tentative kiss. The world around us faded away, and I felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with fear. I knew we were crossing a line, but in that moment, it felt right. As the kiss deepened, the classroom transformed into a cocoon of intimacy. I could feel the heat rising between us, and the thrill of the forbidden made every touch feel electric. I had never imagined I would find myself in such a situation, but the excitement was intoxicating. Suddenly, the sound of the school bell echoed in the distance, reminding us of the reality we were stepping away from. I pulled back, breathless and filled with conflicting emotions. "What are we doing?" I asked, my voice trembling. Mr. Thompson looked at me, a mix of desire and concern in his eyes. "Just enjoy the moment," he replied softly. But the moment was fleeting. I knew we had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. "We can't do this," I said, my heart racing. He nodded, understanding the gravity of our actions. "I know," he replied, his voice heavy with regret. "But it's hard to ignore what we feel." In that moment, I realized the weight of our choices. We were playing with fire, and I knew I had to make a decision. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support means everything to me and helps us create a space where we can share, reflect, and grow together.